Человек создает технологии, человек управляет технологиями. Но говоря о будущем, мы говорим о будущем технологий. Вот какое это будущее? Опасное, безопасное? Это будущее человека для человека, или это все-таки будущее технологий, где человек только создает это, а потом технологии управляют человеком или подчиняют себе нас?
Humans are still unique in that we're still the reason for the whole thing, right? Digital systems, until we hit a sort of singularity moment, and that, from my perspective, that may or may not happen. But until then, we're the reason that all of this is being done, right? It's up to us to design the systems in such a way that they support us. And there is a kind of a sense that you can get a view of where some of this is headed. So you mentioned your mobile phone, for example. If you look at personal networking, there's been an arc over the last 40 years around personal networks that's really clear and really interesting. So you go back to the early internet before the web, and there was a common sense of all of the interactions that people had. People would connect with one another, and the sort of archetypal conversation was, I just met somebody in Johannesburg, and they're interested in the same kind of music that I am, right? It was this very communication-based kind of networking. As network density and processing increased, commerce became the center. That's when we got the .com era and the AdWords models, the Googles and the Facebooks. Now, though, that center of gravity is shifting again. It's shifting towards something else that I would argue looks more like coordination. So when you see the Ubers or the Kickstarters or the Airbnbs, they're all just variations on the same model, right? Our networks have gotten good enough to find resources, human resources or physical resources, and coordinate them to where they're needed when they're needed, right? That's what all of these business models have in common. And it's spreading, so those are those are B2C applications. B2B applications are emerging in cargo transport, in expensive medical equipment. You're seeing the emergence of this kind of routing for physicians, for accountants. This capability of routing is, I think, the next, kind of the next thing that we're going to deal with, particularly because it's going to be disruptive of industry, right? And that's where your question becomes very important, how we handle this on a human level. The taxi industry has already realized what it's like to compete with competitors who have software managing a good piece of it, right? Software in Uber's model really takes a managerial role. The software is managing the individual drivers. So on the one hand, this means that we could see a pretty dramatic increase in what you might call productivity, or just kind of sheer velocity of economic activities, right? On the other hand, it means that a lot of the institutional structures that we work with are potentially, potentially themselves going to be disrupted, right? The model that we use for organizations, the kind of org chart-based model, is something that was invented for industrial production, right? It's not clear that that's right for network-based production, and I think that's where the human question comes in. How do we transition from a hierarchical, bureaucratic organizational principle for for our businesses to something that is network-based, something that is able to be largely software-driven? Uber mostly software-driven, a few people in an office in any given city running thousands of employees underneath them, and that's I think the question. How do we make ourselves be more human, right? I'm not so worried about the technology. I'm actually worried about the people wielding the technology, because that's where things could get hairy in the very near term. I'm talking, 5 years, 7 years, very, very short term. We'll have these questions, and it won't be the technology. It'll be each other that, kind of create the challenge.